Hey everyone, welcome back to Simply Listen. I'm Sophia. Today's story is a little different. This one has a lesson inside it, a lesson about bad habits, and about using someone's own words against them. The title of today's story is Victor and Clara. Get comfortable, and let's begin. Victor and Clara lived in a small farmhouse near a quiet village. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business. Victor worked on the farm during the day. But every evening, after work was done, he had a habit. A bad habit. It was slowly ruining everything he and Clara had built together. Victor loved to gamble. It started small, many years ago. A simple card game with friends. A small bet on a horse race. Nothing seemed dangerous at first. But small bets became big bets. And big bets became big debts. And debts became secrets he hid from his wife. Clara noticed. Wives always notice these things. She saw their savings getting smaller every month. She saw Victor look away when she asked about money. She saw him come home late, smelling of smoke. She was tired. Very tired of her husband's gambling. But she loved him too. So she waited, hoping he would stop on his own. He did not stop. One evening, everything got much worse. Victor went to play cards with a man from another town. His name was Marcus. Everyone knew Marcus played hard and rarely lost. Victor felt confident that night, maybe too confident. He bet more money than he had. Game after game, his luck got worse. Finally, in one bad round, he lost a huge amount of money. Money he did not have. Marcus was not a patient man. He stood up, his face cold and hard, and demanded his money right away. "I don't have it," Victor said, his voice shaking. "Not tonight. Give me time. I will find a way to pay you." Marcus looked at him for a long moment. Then he leaned in close, his voice low and scary. "Fine," he said. "Tomorrow morning, I am coming to your house. And whatever I touch first when I arrive, that thing becomes mine. A coin, a chair, an animal, anything. Whatever I touch first is mine. Do you understand?" Victor, scared and desperate, said yes. He had no other choice. People in the village said Marcus had done this before to other unlucky gamblers. Each time, he left with something much bigger than the actual debt, sometimes a family's best horse, sometimes land, once even a family's only cow. Victor walked home that night with his heart pounding. His mind was empty. He could not think of any way out. When he got home, Clara was still awake. She sat by the fire, waiting for him, the way she always did. One look at his face told her something was very wrong. "What happened?" she asked quietly. Victor sat down and told her everything. The card game. The debt. Marcus's threat. How he had agreed to let this stranger take whatever he touched first the next morning. Clara listened in silence. Her face showed nothing. But inside, something had finally broken. For a long moment, she said nothing at all. She just looked at the fire, thinking. Finally, she spoke. "I will help you," she said slowly. "I will fix this mess. But only if you agree to one thing." Victor looked up at her, hope and shame in his tired eyes. "Anything," he said. "Tell me what you need." "You must promise me," Clara said, her voice firm, "that you will stop gambling. Completely. Forever. No more card games. No more bets. No more nights with men like Marcus. If I help you tomorrow, this ends tonight. For good." Victor was quiet for a moment. He thought about everything gambling had already cost them, their savings, their trust, all the sleepless nights Clara must have spent worrying about him. "I promise," he finally said. And for the first time in a long time, he truly meant it. Clara nodded, satisfied. "Good," she said. "Now go to sleep. I have work to do tonight. I need you calm and rested tomorrow. Let me handle Marcus." Victor went to bed. But Clara did not sleep at all that night. Instead, she got to work right away. She moved quietly through the house by candlelight so she would not wake the children sleeping in the next room. She began collecting every valuable thing they owned. The old silver clock that belonged to her grandmother. Her mother's small wooden jewelry box with a few pieces of gold jewelry. A tin box of old coins Victor had saved for many years. Even an old painting from Victor's grandfather, hanging in the hallway. One by one, she gathered every valuable thing in the house. She carried each item out to the barn behind their home. At the back of the barn, there was a small loft. This is a raised storage space above the animal area. You could only reach it by climbing a tall wooden ladder that leaned against the wall. Clara climbed that ladder again and again all night. She carried each item up to the loft. She placed everything inside a big wooden trunk and locked it with an old iron key. By the time the sun began to rise, every valuable thing the family owned was safely locked in that trunk. High up in the loft. Completely hidden. Only one thing was left where anyone could see it. The ladder. It leaned against the loft, right where anyone walking into the yard would notice it first. Clara looked at her work, satisfied. She climbed down one last time and went inside to get ready for the morning. Marcus arrived exactly as he promised. Just as the sun came up fully, he rode into their yard on his horse. He looked confident, sure he would leave with something valuable. He got off his horse slowly. He looked around the yard with sharp eyes, searching for whatever prize might be waiting for him. He noticed the house looked different somehow. Emptier. Through the open door, he could see the mantel was bare where a clock should be. The hallway walls looked strangely empty too. Then his eyes moved to the barn. And he saw it. The tall wooden ladder, leaning against the loft. It seemed to be inviting him to come look at whatever treasure might be hidden above. A slow smile spread across his face. Whatever Victor and Clara tried to hide, they must have hidden it in that loft. And the ladder, the very first thing he had really noticed in this yard, would lead him straight to it. He walked toward the barn with quick steps. Victor watched nervously from the doorway of the house, too scared to say a word. He trusted whatever plan his wife had made during that long night. Marcus reached the bottom of the ladder. He grabbed it firmly with both hands, ready to climb up and see what riches waited in that loft. That was the exact moment Clara stepped out of the house. Her voice was calm and clear. "Stop," she said simply. Marcus turned around, a little annoyed at being interrupted. He was still holding the ladder tightly. "According to your own words," Clara said, walking closer, her face completely calm, "whatever you touch first when you arrive here becomes yours. Is that not exactly what you told my husband last night?" Marcus frowned. Confusion started to creep into his confident face. "Yes," he said slowly. "That is exactly what I said." "Then look at your own hands," Clara said, pointing calmly at the ladder he still held tight. "What are you touching right now? What is the very first thing you touched when you arrived in our yard?" Marcus looked down at his own hands, at the rough wooden ladder under his fingers. Slowly, he began to understand. "The ladder is yours now," Clara said, her voice steady and firm. "Forever. Exactly as you promised. Because you touched it first, before anything else in this yard. Those were your own words. Spoken with your own mouth. I am simply making sure you keep your word." Marcus stood there in complete silence for a long moment. His hand still rested on the ladder. His mind worked hard, trying to find some argument, some clever way out of this trap he had walked straight into without knowing it. But there was nothing he could say. He had made these rules himself, the night before. He was fully sure he would walk away with something far more valuable than a simple wooden ladder. He never imagined the person who would outsmart him would be a farmer's wife, working quietly through one sleepless night. "You may take the ladder," Clara said, almost gently now, "and go home with it. Just as you promised." Marcus looked from Clara to Victor, standing nervously in the doorway. Then back to Clara again. He was clearly looking for some sign that this was a joke, some misunderstanding he could still fix in his favor. But Clara's face stayed calm, patient, and completely firm. Finally, defeated, Marcus let out a long, frustrated breath. Without another word, he pulled the ladder away from the barn wall. He put it awkwardly over his shoulder and walked back to his horse. His earlier confidence was completely gone now, replaced by quiet embarrassment. He got on his horse with some difficulty, the ladder balanced clumsily across the saddle. He rode away from their farm without looking back even once. He disappeared down the same road he had arrived on with such confidence just minutes before. Victor stood frozen in the doorway, watching Marcus disappear into the distance. He could hardly believe what he had just seen. When Marcus was finally gone, he turned to Clara. His eyes were wide with relief, admiration, and a little shame. "How did you think of this?" he asked softly. "I was ready to lose everything. Our savings. Our belongings. Maybe even more." Clara walked past him into the house, her voice calm but firm. "I spent all night thinking about nothing else," she said. "I knew Marcus would come expecting to take something big. So I made sure the only thing he could possibly take was something small. Something that meant nothing to us. I simply removed every other option, until only the one I wanted him to choose was left." She looked at her husband directly then. Her face softened a little, though her words stayed firm. "But Victor," she said, "understand this clearly. I saved our family's things this time. I will not be able to do something like this again. Whatever happens next, whatever debts you make, you will face them yourself. You made me a promise last night. And I plan to hold you to it, exactly the way I just held Marcus to his own words." Victor nodded slowly. The weight of the whole night finally settled on him. "I understand," he said quietly. "I promise you, Clara. This is over. All of it. Starting today." And true to his word, from that morning on, Victor never touched another card. He never placed another bet. He never spent another evening with men like Marcus. The valuable items came down from the loft that same afternoon. Each one went back to its proper place around the house. The silver clock back on the mantel. The jewelry box back in its drawer. The old painting hung straight again in the hallway. Clara had saved her family's valuable things. And more importantly, she had saved her husband from a habit that was slowly destroying everything they had built together. Let me quickly go through this story one more time, so it stays clear in your mind. Victor had a serious gambling problem. One evening, he lost a huge amount of money to a dangerous man named Marcus. Marcus threatened to come to their home the next morning and take whatever he touched first, no matter how valuable it was. Scared and desperate, Victor told his wife Clara everything. Clara agreed to help him, but only if he promised to stop gambling completely, forever. That night, while Victor slept, Clara worked hard. She gathered every valuable item in their home and locked them safely in a trunk hidden in the loft above their barn. She left only a simple wooden ladder where anyone could see it. When Marcus arrived the next morning and grabbed that ladder first, exactly as his own words had promised, Clara calmly held him to his word. The ladder, and nothing else, became his. The moral of today's story is simple, but powerful. Do not develop bad habits. This was a small story, but it carries a big lesson. Bad habits can slowly cost us everything we care about most: our savings, our trust, our peace of mind. And sometimes, the smartest way to protect what matters is not through anger or arguing. It is through quiet, careful thinking. And sometimes, using someone else's own words against them. If you enjoyed this story today, please like this video. Share it with someone learning English. And subscribe to Simply Listen for more stories like this every single week. If you learned any new words today, tell me in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a wonderful day. And I will see you in the next story.